The grand doors of Downton Abbey stand half open. The morning fog drifts across the estate, wrapping it in quiet mystery. Inside, the halls that once echoed with laughter and footsteps now breathe in silence. Every corner holds a memory. Every shadow remembers a secret. This is not just the end of a story, it's the closing of an era. And as the final chapter begins, we find ourselves drawn once again to the heart of Downton Abbey, where endings feel like beginnings and the camera drifts across the vast English countryside. Painted in gold by the morning sun, do sparkles on the grass like tiny jewels? In the distance, the familiar silhouette of Downton Abbey rises, majestic yet softened by time. Its windows glint faintly, as if the house itself remembers. The air carries the whisper of the past, the rustle of servants preparing breakfast, the chatter of family gathered for tea, the footsteps of history still echoing beneath the marble floors. A soft orchestral melody begins. Strings, piano, and the faint sound of a ticking clock. The voice of the narrator enters, calm but filled with feeling. Every home tells a story, but few homes have witnessed as many hearts, hopes, and heartbreaks as Downton Abbey. From love found in secret corridors to loss felt at long dinner tables, this house has seen it all. It has carried the weight of generations through war, change, and time itself. The visuals flow between empty rooms, the grand staircase, the long dining table, the servants' bells on the wall. Sunlight filters through lace curtains, lighting up the dust that dances like memories refusing to fade. This is where it all began, the voice continues. A story of class and courage, of family and fate. The Crawleys and those who served them built more than a household. They built a world that millions came to call home. And now, as the final curtain begins to fall, we return once more. Not to say goodbye, but to listen. To remember. To feel. The tempo of the music rises slightly. We see glimpses of life. A hand arranging silverware. A maid folding linen. The camera moving past portraits that seem to watch us back. The beginning of the end is not about endings, the voice says. It is about echoes of love that outlives time, of devotion that never truly leaves. The world may have changed beyond these walls, but Downton remains. The screen fades slowly to black, leaving only the sound of the ticking clock. Then, a soft chime, the theme of Downton Abbey, plays as golden text fades in. Downton Abbey, the official podcast, the beginning of the end. I'm stand still. Time moves differently inside Downton Abbey. While the world outside rushes forward, the house remains suspended in grace, a place where every moment feels eternal. The grand staircase that once carried the Crawley family through joy and tragedy still stands, proud and silent. The golden light through the tall windows still glows like it did a century ago. This is more than a set. It's a memory built in stone. The voice begins softly, filled with quiet admiration. Downton Abbey was never just about titles or tea. It was about people, their dreams, their flaws, their love for each other, and the way they held on when the world was changing faster than they could bear. We see quick glimpses of life upstairs, elegant dinners, slow waltzes, glances filled with unspoken words. Then, the camera glides downstairs where the servants worked tirelessly, laughing, whispering, living their own stories in the shadows of grandeur. They said it was a story about a house, the voice continues. But really, it was a story about us, about how we all try to find our place in a world that keeps shifting beneath our feet. Music swells gently, blending nostalgia and warmth. Clips fade in of letters being written, candles being lit, clocks ticking, symbols of time passing. The world of Downton captured the truth we often forget, that every goodbye holds the echo of a beginning, that love in any form leaves something behind. The visuals shift to a montage of old photographs, the cast smiling between takes, the crew arranging the dining table, the director watching from afar, yet no faces are shown. Only the hands, the props, the setting, as if the house itself were the storyteller. Through 6 seasons and 2 films, Downton became a mirror, reflecting both history and heart. It showed us how tradition can meet change without losing its soul. It reminded us that kindness, dignity, and loyalty never go out of style. As the narrator pauses, the music softens again. And now, as we look back, the question remains, what made Downton Abbey live beyond its time? Was it the beauty of the estate, the grace of its world, or the hearts that refused to stop beating within it? Perhaps it was all of it. The screen fades to a shot of the Abbey at sunset. The windows shimmer gold, and the distant sound of a piano plays the familiar theme. Downton Abbey isn't gone, the voice whispers. It lives in every fan who still feels that quiet pull of nostalgia, in every heart that finds comfort in its walls. This is not the past. This is forever. The music fades to a hum of strings as the camera drifts upward over the estate, dissolving into the clouds, a visual bridge leading us toward the next chapter. The final chapter tease. A storm gathers quietly over the estate. Clouds roll in, casting long shadows across the golden fields. The grand house that once shone with endless life now stands in stillness, holding its breath. Something in the air feels different, heavier, quieter, more sacred. The narrator's voice returns, low and thoughtful. Every story reaches a moment when the light begins to fade, not with sadness but with meaning. It's the moment before the curtain falls. When you realize that the story you love is about to take its final bow, the visuals shift between close-ups of forgotten objects, a silver spoon on a tray, a letter left half open, a candle burning low. Each item seems to carry its own goodbye. The corridors of Downton are empty, yet alive with echoes, laughter from another time, a whispered promise, a distant song. The walls of Downton Abbey have always listened, the voice says. They've heard secrets, confessions, and dreams. Now, for the first time, they listen to silence, the kind that comes before an ending. The music begins to swell, strings with a hint of sorrow and pride intertwined. Images of the production surface, a script being flipped open, camera light turning red, a costume being brushed one last time. No faces, only motion. Only the rhythm of farewell. As the final chapter begins, the people behind Downton prepare for their last act. Every line written carries the weight of years. Every set rebuilt feels like a reunion. Every scene filmed becomes a goodbye disguised as art. The narration softens, becoming almost a whisper. Endings aren't the enemy of stories. They are the proof that something mattered, that something was lived and loved enough to be missed. The visuals now move between contrasts, sunlight through rain, an empty chair at a dinner table, a piano closing its lid. The final chapter isn't about loss, the voice continues. It's about legacy, the invisible thread that ties past and present together. It's about gratitude for every moment we spent inside this world, and every feeling it gave us. The music shifts once more, the familiar Downton Abbey theme. Slower now, like a heartbeat fading into memory. Double quotes soon. We'll watch the last doors close, the last candle burn, the last words spoken. But when the lights go down and the credits roll, Downton will remain in us. In you, the screen fades to black, leaving a single glowing line of text. The end begins here. A soft chime follows, the kind that opens an old memory box. And the narrator's final words echo, the beginning of the end. Is not a goodbye. It's an invitation to listen once more. The music fades out, leading perfectly into the next chapter. Section 4. Behind the microphone, the podcast begins. The hum of a recording room. A microphone flickers to life. A red light glows softly in the dark, the signal that stories are about to breathe again. The sound of paper rustling, the gentle click of a pen, and the faint heartbeat of a clock create the rhythm of anticipation. The narrator begins, voice calm yet filled with warmth. Every great story deserves to be remembered, not in silence, but in voices, in laughter, reflection, and truth. That is why we are here, to keep the spirit of Downton Abbey alive, one story, one memory, one heartbeat at a time. The visuals glide across simple objects, a notepad filled with scribbles, headphones hanging on a chair, the glow of a laptop screen showing sound waves dancing across the monitor. There are no faces, only gestures. The focus is on the sound, the living pulse of storytelling, reborn through the microphone. This is where the walls of Downton speak again. The voice continues, not through scripted lines, but through the voices of those who built it, the writers who dreamed it, the cast who lived it, the fans who never left it. A faint echo of the Downton theme hums beneath the narration, reimagined as an acoustic piano piece. The podcast isn't just a conversation, it's a time machine. Each episode carries us back through the corridors of memory, behind the camera, behind the dialogue, behind the final bow. It lets us listen to what the heart of Downton still wants to say. We hear faint snippets, imagined fragments of dialogue fading in and out. I still remember that first scene. We never thought it would touch so many lives. It felt like saying goodbye to family. The narrator resumes. Through every voice, every reflection, the story rebuilds itself, piece by piece. We don't see faces here because we don't need to. The emotions are enough. The sound tells its own truth. Behind the microphone, there are no costumes, no grand halls, no cameras. Only memory, only heart. And that's what makes it pure. The beauty of Downton Abbey doesn't fade here. It evolves. It becomes sound. It becomes story. The music swells into a hopeful melody, a promise rather than a farewell. Through this podcast, the final chapter becomes a beginning once more. A place where fans can return not to watch, but to listen. To close their eyes and hear Downton Abbey live again. The red light fades. The hum of the room softens. And with one final breath, the narrator whispers, "Welcome to Downton Abbey, the official podcast." The story continues. In every word you hear, the screen fades to black, carrying only the echo of that last line, a sound that feels like memory finding its voice. There comes a silence that only endings can hold, not the kind that empties a room, but the kind that fills it with everything that was ever said, ever felt, ever loved. Inside Downton Abbey, that silence lingers like perfume in the air. It's in the slow sway of the curtains, in the echo of footsteps that no longer fall. Time seems to pause, as if even it too doesn't want to let go. The narrator's voice drifts in softly, almost as though remembering out loud. Every ending carries a heartbeat. Every goodbye hides a whisper of forever. The beginning of the end isn't about loss. It's about remembering why something was worth holding on to. The visuals move through empty hallways bathed in golden light. The long dining table stands untouched. The piano in the drawing room waits in silence. A single candle flickers on the mantel, fragile but steady. When Downton Abbey first opened its doors to the world, the voice continues, we stepped inside as strangers. But somewhere between the laughter, the heartbreak, and the endless cups of tea, it became home. A home for stories. A home for feelings we didn't know we needed. Soft strings rise beneath the narration, gentle, wistful, honest. Perhaps that's what endings really are, not closures, but transformations. The people we meet through stories stay with us. The words they speak become our own thoughts. Their journeys remind us of what it means to be human, to hope, to lose, to begin again. The screen fades to black and white images, gloves folded neatly, a chandelier dimming, a clock striking one last time. We say goodbye not because something is gone, the narrator says, but because it has changed us. The beauty of Downton Abbey is not only in its rooms or its history, but in the way it taught us about life, that love exists in both silence and sound, that dignity can survive heartbreak, and that even when time moves on, grace remains. A faint echo of the theme plays again, this time with a piano and violin duet, slow, deliberate, almost like breathing. The narrator whispers, the beginning of the end. It sounds sad, doesn't it? But maybe it isn't. Maybe it's just another way of saying thank you. For the stories, for the memories, for the reminder that even endings can be beautiful. Candle flame flickers, then steadies again. The camera pans slowly upward, toward a window glowing with soft evening light. Outside, the Abbey stands as it always has, proud, peaceful, eternal. Downton may fade from our screens, the voice concludes, but it will never fade from our hearts. Because some worlds don't end. They simply live in the places we return to when we need to feel something real again. The music swells, carrying the final words like a breeze through an open door. And as the light fades, a simple line appears on screen. Every ending is a way home. The sound of soft rain against glass, a quiet rhythm that feels like memory tapping at the window, asking to come inside. The halls of Downton are still, but somewhere in that silence, a voice rises, gentle, familiar, alive. Stories never truly end, the narrator begins. They find new ways to speak, new ways to reach us. The story of Downton Abbey still lives, not in grand halls or glowing chandeliers, but in every heart that remembers. Visuals drift over details, a typewriter ribbon, a half-folded script, headphones resting beside an open journal. The red glow of a recording light flickers again, just like in section 4, symbolizing that something beautiful is continuing. A new chapter begins, not on screen, but in sound. The voice continues. Through the official podcast, we step beyond the set, beyond the stories we watched, into the stories we feel, the laughter behind the lines, the tears between takes, the truth beneath the costumes. Soft piano begins to blend with ambient sound, footsteps in corridors, faint echoes of voices, the clinking of teacups, all layered to create an emotional symphony of memory. This isn't just a podcast, the narrator says, voice deepening with warmth. It's a gathering, a place where the walls of Downton open once more, welcoming everyone who ever loved this world, whether you watched it from the very first episode or found it years later, like a letter waiting to be read. The visuals show sound waves moving across a screen, each pulse glowing like a heartbeat. Each episode is a journey back, a conversation with the past. You'll hear from the voices who shaped it, the minds who dreamed it, the hearts who carried it. Together, we'll walk the path from the first script to the final farewell and discover how even endings can sing. The piano melody swells into hope. So, wherever you are in your kitchen, on a train, or watching the rain outside your window, put on your headphones and come home. Come home to Downton Abbey. Let its stories wrap around you once more. The visuals fade into golden light, the sound of the rain softening into calm. Because home isn't a place, the narrator whispers. It's a feeling, and that feeling never leaves you. Then, with gentle music rising, the text appears on screen. Listen to Downton Abbey, the official podcast, the beginning of the end. Followed by the final line of narration, the doors are open. The story is waiting. Will you join us? The screen fades to black. The last note of piano lingers, the sound of welcome and farewell becoming one. The screen is dark. Only the faint hum of wind moves through the still air. Then, a quiet piano begins, slow, patient, tender. The kind of melody that doesn't ask to be heard, only to be felt. The camera glides once more across the estate. The lights inside Downton Abbey are dim now, glowing softly through the windows like lanterns in fog. Rain has stopped. The world outside is washed clean. The narrator speaks, the voice calm, steady, full of reverence. Every story we love eventually becomes a memory. But not all memories fade. Some remain untouched by time, carried gently in the corners of our hearts. The visuals move through the familiar spaces one last time. The grand staircase, the drawing room, the kitchen below. Each place empty, yet alive with invisible warmth. It's as if the laughter, the love, the life, all still breathe here, even when the people are gone. The magic of Downton Abbey, the voice continues, was never just in its beauty. It was in its truth, the quiet truth that life changes, love endures, and time always moves forward. The music swells, joined by faint echoes, the distant chime of the Abbey's clock, soft rustle of fabric, strike of silverware. Tiny fragments of memory blending into sound. For every fan who stepped through these doors, the narrator whispers, for every tear shed, every smile shared, thank you. You kept this world alive. You kept its heart beating long after the cameras stopped. Golden light seeps across the screen. Text fades in slowly. A production of Downton Abbey, the official podcast. Then, the beginning of the end. Episode 1. The voice softens even more. And though this may be goodbye for now, stories like these never truly leave us. They wait quietly, patiently for us to remember them. The final visual. The camera drifts upward over the Abbey, rising higher and higher until the building becomes small against a wide morning sky. The sun breaks through the clouds, the same light that opened the story in Section 1, as the dawn returns. The narrator says gently, the house rests, but its story lives on. Wherever hearts still believe in grace, in love, and in the power of remembering. The music slows to silence. A single piano note lingers, like the last word of a letter that doesn't need to be signed. Then, it's in delicate white text. For everyone who has ever called Downton Abbey home, fade to black. A moment of silence. Then, just before it ends, the faint echo of the Downton Abbey theme, one last time, distant and eternal.